All right, let's talk about AI hardware. For a long time now, it's pretty much felt like a one-horse race, but that's all changing. Today, we're going to dig into the story of how AMD is mounting a serious, and I mean serious, challenge for the throne.
You know, when you think AI hardware, one name just pops into your head, right? It's automatic. But what if I told you there's a powerful challenger rewriting the rules, an underdog that's now making moves you just can't ignore?
And here's the thing, this isn't just a case of AMD throwing a few new products out there and hoping something sticks. No, this is a full-blown, calculated plan, a two-front war, if you will, to compete in the age of AI.
So let's dive into that first front. It all starts somewhere you might not expect, right in our homes, on the desktop, with Radeon.
The whole idea here is simple, but it's really powerful. AI isn't just for the cloud anymore. It's not some abstract thing humming away in a giant server farm. It's becoming a tool that you can actually use right on your own machine.
So what can you really do with this stuff? Well, with a modern Radeon GPU, you're not just playing games. You can actually run some pretty hefty large language models. We're talking 7 billion, even 13 billion parameter models. You can fire up stable diffusion and generate incredible images. Or, get this, you can do real-time video analysis with models like YOLO. This is legit enterprise-level stuff happening on hardware you can buy for your home PC.
And what's really smart is how AMD has laid out this clear path for people. You can jump in as an enthusiast with a consumer card that already gives you a whopping 24 gigs of VRAM. But once you're hooked and you want to do more serious development, there's a next step, a professional card that doubles your VRAM to 48 gigs and adds critical stuff like error-correcting memory for stability. That kind of capacity, well, that's a game changer for developers.
Okay, so that's the home front. Now let's talk about the other, much bigger battleground, powering the data center with their Instinct line of accelerators.
And when you look at the timeline, their rise here has been, well, meteoric. In 2020, the MI100 was the real turning point that finally gave their software some serious credibility. Just a year later, the MI200 was powering the frontier supercomputer. We're talking exascale here. Then, in 2023, the MI300 just exploded onto the scene, becoming AMD's fastest product ever to hit $1 billion in revenue. And they are not slowing down.
The next one, the MI350, has its sights set on dominating a really critical area, and that area is memory. Just look at these numbers. The MI350 is slated to have up to 288 gigabytes of high bandwidth memory. That is a full 50% more than its biggest rival. And you might be thinking, okay, so what? Well, for these gigantic AI models, having more memory on one GPU is everything. It makes things simpler, faster, and more efficient. This is AMD's trump card on the hardware side.
But great hardware is only half the battle, right? You absolutely need the software to make it all sing. And this is where the real secret weapon comes in, something AMD has been quietly building for years.
And that secret weapon is called ROCm, the Radeon Open Compute Platform. Think of it as AMD's open-source answer to CUDA, the software that has basically ruled the AI world for years. Now, let's be honest. For a while, ROCm was a little rough around the edges. But it's grown up a lot. It's now a seriously powerful, enterprise-ready stack that can go toe-to-toe with the best.
So you've got this entire world of developers who've spent their careers writing code for CUDA. How on earth do you get them to switch? It's a huge ask. Well, AMD's answer is pretty genius. It's a tool called HIP. And instead of saying, hey, throw out all your old code and start over, HIP basically acts as a translator. You take your existing CUDA application, you run it through HIP, and boom, it now runs on AMD hardware with hardly any rewriting needed. It's a brilliant way to lower that barrier to entry.
And they're not just making the software easier to use, they're making the hardware itself easier to access. As AMD themselves put it, their developer cloud gives you instant access to AMD Instinct MI300X GPUs with zero hardware investment or local setup required. Think about that. You don't have to spend a fortune or build a server. You can just log in and start experimenting with their absolute best stuff. That's huge.
So with all this in place, you can see how they're gearing up for the next battlefield. Because this is just the beginning. They're already laying the groundwork for what comes next.
Okay, I want you to remember one number. 72.
So what's so special about 72? That's how many of their next-gen MI400 GPUs they're planning to cram into a single server rack. A single rack! We're not just talking about the power of one chip anymore. The game is shifting to these incredibly dense, rack-scale systems built for AI on a scale we've never seen before.
And this really sets the stage for a massive showdown around 2026. When you look at the projections, AMD's system is going right up against NVIDIA's next big thing. And again, look where AMD is placing its bets. They're aiming to keep that 50% advantage in memory capacity and bandwidth. But there's another key difference here. Check out the interconnect. AMD is all in on open standards, while their competition is sticking to their own proprietary tech. That's a huge philosophical difference.
But you know, this race isn't just about raw horsepower anymore. It's also about sustainability. AMD has set this incredibly ambitious goal, a 20 times increase in energy efficiency at the rack level by 2030. And that's because everyone knows that the power these AI systems consume is a massive problem. Performance per watt is becoming the new gold standard.
So where does all this leave us? Well, it means we're in a new era. For the first time in what feels like forever, there's real, meaningful choice in the AI hardware market. And it's not just about picking between two brands. It's about choosing between two completely different philosophies. On one hand, you have the closed garden approach, a perfectly manicured, high-performance ecosystem, but one where the walls are high and everything is proprietary. And on the other hand, you have the open field, an ecosystem built on open-source software, a focus on memory leadership, and designed for flexibility.
So that leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Is the future of AI going to be built inside a closed-walled garden or out in a vast open field? The answer to that is going to define the next decade of tech for, well, for all of us. Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.